Israel-Hamas ceasefire takes effect 2:30 p.m. Malaysian time. South Korean court approves formal arrest of President Yoon. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Daniel Bahardin. Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that the ceasefire in Gaza between Israel and Hamas will take effect at 8:30 a.m. local time or around 2:30 p.m. Malaysian time today. The ministry also advised all Gaza residents to take precautions, exercise the utmost caution and await instructions from official sources on the matter. The deal was approved after more than 460 days of war in which Israeli forces killed more than 46,790 Palestinians and wounded 110,460. Under the deal, the three-stage ceasefire starts with an initial 6-week phase when captives held by Hamas will be exchanged for Palestinian prisoners and detainees in Israeli custody. 33 Israeli captives are to be freed in this phase. In return, Israel will release nearly 1,900 Palestinians, including females and children, as well as hundreds of Palestinians from Gaza in detention since the start of the war. The remainder, including male soldiers, are to be released in a second phase that will be negotiated during the first. Hamas has said it will not release the remaining captives without a lasting ceasefire and a full Israeli withdrawal. Earlier on Saturday, 8 truck convoys in the Egyptian border town of Rafah were preparing to cross into Gaza as soon as the border opens. Egyptian truck drivers said they had been waiting at the border for 2 weeks and were looking forward to finally getting inside Gaza to distribute the aid.
قدام المعبر اهوت هنا بقالنا بتاع 15 يوم اهوت وشايفين الوضع والناس على خيرها كلها هي بتعمل يعني بتساعد وربنا يصلح الحال للجميع. وفرحنا طبعا لما سمعنا الخبر ده وكلهم هيدخلوا 600 عربية وعلى الله يعني.
The ceasefire deal required 600 truckloads of aid to be allowed into Gaza every day of the initial 6-week ceasefire, including 50 carrying fuel. Half of the 600 aid trucks would be delivered to Gaza's north, where experts have warned famine is imminent. The head of the UN Palestinian Relief Agency UNRWA, Philip Lazzarini, said on Friday it has 4,000 truckloads of aid, half of which are food and flour, ready to enter the Palestinian enclave. The UN World Food Programme also said it has enough food ready to feed more than 1 million people for 3 months. United States Agency for International Development Administrator Samantha Power said she hoped a surge in aid could create a steady pipeline of humanitarian relief for Gaza. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the reconstruction of Gaza, which is almost entirely destroyed due to Israeli attacks since October 2023, is estimated to cost over $1 trillion. Datuk Seri Anwar said such a substantial amount is required because key facilities such as mosques, schools, hospitals and homes have been demolished. Datuk Seri Anwar said that Japan has also invited Malaysia to co-chair the Conference on Cooperation among East Asian Countries for Palestinian Development, CPAD, focusing on Gaza's reconstruction. Recently, the Prime Minister emphasized that while reconstruction is a priority, the loss of over 46,700 Palestinian lives and the displacement of more than 2 million people must also be acknowledged and never forgotten. In a related development, pro-Palestinian protesters gathered in Barcelona ahead of the ceasefire in Gaza. For them, the ceasefire to be signed is hoped to be the first step towards respecting human rights worldwide. Thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators gathered in central London on Saturday, hoping to apply pressure for a lasting ceasefire in Palestine. The rally took place at Whitehall, the location of the UK government's main offices, after the police rejected the original location suggested by the organisers. Meanwhile, around 300 people gathered for a demonstration on the streets of Lisbon. This is part of the European movement, The Surge, which demands an end to the war in Palestine. Several movements have united to ensure the freedom of the Palestinian people to determine their own fate. A court in South Korea has approved the formal arrest of President Yoon Suk-yeol over his decision to declare martial law last month. The Seoul Western District Court earlier today granted law enforcement's request for an arrest warrant for Yoon following an hours-long deliberation, saying there was concern that Yoon could destroy evidence. Last Wednesday, Yoon became the first sitting South Korean president to be arrested. South Korean investigators probing Yoon for alleged insurrection asked a Seoul court on Friday to extend his detention after he refused to be questioned. Yoon and his lawyers on Saturday appeared before the court's judge during a hearing and argued for his release. His arrest could mark the beginning of an extended period in custody for him, lasting months or more. He faces potential rebellion charges linked to his declaration of martial law on 3rd December, which set off the country's most serious political crisis since its democratization in the late 1980s. The Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, which is leading a joint investigation with police and the military, can now extend his detention to 20 days, during which they will transfer the case to public prosecutors for indictment. Yoon's lawyers could also file a petition to challenge the court's arrest warrant. Today marks the second day of the ASEAN Foreign Ministers AMM retreat taking place in Langkawi, Kedah. For more information, let's hear it from Vimala Kasturi Veerasamy on location.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Datuk Sri Mohamad Hassan, arrived at 9 a.m. to chair the ASEAN Foreign Ministers Retreat, AMM Retreat, today here in Langkawi International Convention Centre, LICC. The ASEAN Foreign Ministers Retreat is the first meeting in the annual ASEAN calendar at the ministerial level under Malaysia's ASEAN Chairmanship for 2025. The AMM Retreat involved the participations of foreign ministers and senior officials from ASEAN member states. The Foreign Minister of Timor-Leste also be participating as an ASEAN observer. Also attending is the ASEAN Secretary General and a representative from Myanmar. Datuk Sri Mohamad Hassan opened the AMM retreat by highlighting about intra-ASEAN trade and investment and make a regional economy integration as highest priority. He also mentioned about climate change and the trans-border trade. Besides that, he mentions about inclusivity to navigate a rapidly changing global landscape. Later, a press conference is set to take place at 1:15 p.m. later, hosted by Datuk Sri Mohamad Hassan to explain further about the AMM retreat. That's all for now from LICC. Back to studio.
Coming up, Donald Trump arrives in Washington ahead of tomorrow's inauguration. That and more coming up next. United States President-elect Donald Trump arrived at Washington Dulles International Airport on Saturday evening for an inauguration celebration marking his return to power that has been upended by record cold temperatures. Trump arrived in an Air Force plane sent by outgoing President Joe Biden to his home in Palm Beach, Florida, where the Republican had worked on his transition to power after winning the 5th November election over Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump is expected to head immediately to his golf club in Sterling, Virginia, on the outskirts of Washington, where a crowd of some 500 guests will view a fireworks display and musical performances. The 78-year-old Trump is due to hold a rally with supporters inside the Capital One Arena in downtown Washington today, the eve of his inauguration, as well as a post-inauguration event tomorrow afternoon. A blast of frigid weather forecast for Monday prompted Trump to move the inaugural ceremonies from the iconic west front of the U.S. Capitol building to indoors in the Capitol Rotunda and the parade down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capital One Arena. Trump will be sworn in at 12 p.m. local time and then delivers his inaugural address, a speech that typically sets the tone for the president's new 4-year term from the rotunda inside the U.S. Capitol. Iran unveiled what state TV said was an underground naval missile base at an undisclosed Gulf location on Saturday, 2 days before the start of Donald Trump's second term as president. It was unveiled at a time when tension with Washington is widely expected to rise. Iranian leaders are concerned that Trump might empower Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to strike Iran's nuclear sites while tightening U.S. sanctions on its oil industry through his maximum pressure policy. The local television showed Revolutionary Guards Chief General Hossein Salami visiting the secret base. He said it was one of several built underground for vessels capable of launching long-range missiles and carry out distant warfare. The local media informed the base was built at a depth of 500 meters somewhere in the Gulf, and it showed tunnels with long rows of what it said were a new version of Tariq-class radar-evading speedboats which can launch cruise missiles. Earlier this month, Iran started military exercises that are due to last 2 months and have already included war games in which the Revolutionary Guards defended nuclear installations in Natanz against mock attacks by missiles and drones. Iran, which says its ballistic missiles are an important deterrent and retaliatory force against the US and Israel, has in the past unveiled several underground missile cities. Iran's judiciary said on Saturday 2 senior Iranian Supreme Court judges involved in handling espionage and terrorism cases were shot dead in the capital, Tehran. It said the attacker killed himself after opening fire at the judges inside the Supreme Court and that a bodyguard of one of the judges was wounded. The judiciary's media office was cited by state-affiliated media as saying that the attacker had no pending legal cases. Judge Muhammad Mohisheh and Judge Ali Razini were veteran justices who, for decades, headed courts involved in trying protesters, artists and activists. While the motive for the assassination was still unclear, judiciary spokesperson Asghar Jahangir told state television that the two judges had long been involved in national security cases, including espionage and terrorism. State TV said these cases were related to individuals linked to Israel and the Iranian opposition supported by the United States. A tanker has exploded after crashing in Nigeria, killing 77 people who had rushed to collect fuel from the scene. According to authorities, the tanker overturned and spilled its contents in the Suleja area of north-central Niger State on Saturday. The tanker exploded moments after people began scooping up fuel, killing dozens and leaving 25 others injured, including rescuers. Fuel tanker explosions and accidents are common in the country, often caused by the poor state of roads and badly maintained vehicles. The Emergency Management Agency said those injured in Saturday's explosion are being treated in nearby hospitals. Nigeria has seen a number of similar incidents in recent months. 2 weeks ago, a fuel tanker involved in a crash exploded in the oil-rich Delta state, killing at least 5 people, and at least 153 people died in an explosion while trying to collect leaking petrol in October. Fuel prices have increased by more than 400% in the last 18 months following bold economic policies by Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, including the removal of long-standing fuel subsidies. The changes have put millions of people into poverty, with many forced to turn to desperate measures for survival. The government has said its policies are aimed at strengthening the economy. Swedish troops arrived in Riga's port on Saturday as part of the country's NATO deployment in Latvia, less than 1 year after the Nordic nation joined the military and political alliance. Troops disembarked from a ferry and unloaded armored vehicles as the troops prepared to join NATO's multinational brigade. Latvian Defence Minister Andris Prūts described the event as a historic day as he attended the arrival of the soldiers, part of the force due to join the brigade. Sweden's armed forces said the mission of 550 troops will contribute to the alliance deterrence and defence efforts and ensure stability in the region. It also said the development marks Sweden's largest commitment yet since joining NATO. Latvia borders Russia to its east and Russia ally Belarus to its southeast. Tensions are high across Central Europe due to Russia's war against Ukraine. Sweden joined NATO in March 2024 after Russia's invasion of Ukraine forced a rethink of its national security policy. Stockholm had drawn closer to NATO over the last 2 decades, but membership of the alliance marked a break with the past, when for more than 200 years, Sweden avoided military alliances and adopted a neutral stance in times of war. Migrants trying to avoid arrest set fire to blankets and mattresses at a camp in the northern Mexican city of Chihuahua during a raid by government forces to clear the site in the early hours of Saturday. The enforcement action near the United States border comes as President-elect Donald Trump, due to be inaugurated on Monday, has accused Mexico's government of not doing enough to curb migration into the U.S. and threatened sweeping tariffs. About 250 Mexican officials, including National Guard military police in anti-riot gear, surrounded the encampment at around midnight. Migrants began setting fire to mattresses and blankets in protest and tried to slip out of the site carrying babies and belongings. No deaths or injuries were reported in the blaze, which was extinguished in under an hour. Mexico's migration agency did not immediately respond to requests for comment. A migration official informed that the goal of the operation was to bring the migrants to Mexico's southern border, where they would be told to return to their home countries. It was not clear how many people were detained. Many among the 150 migrants were Venezuelan families who had stopped at the camp in Chihuahua City, about 360 kilometers from the border city of Ciudad Juarez, across from El Paso, Texas, as they headed north to the U.S. Still to come in sports, men's shuttler duo makes it to India Open finals. Men's doubles Go Zifei and Nur Izzuddin Rumsani salvaged Malaysia's campaign at the India Open Super 750 by advancing to the men's doubles final in New Delhi last night. World's number 2 Zifei and Izzuddin impressed with a dominant 21-18, 21-14 win over Indian Satwik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty in a 37-minute semi-final encounter. It was only their second win in 8 meetings against the world number 9 Indian duo. Zifei and Izzuddin will face South Korean scratch pair Kim Won-hoo and Seo Seung-jae in the final later today, offering them an opportunity to continue their remarkable run since August. This includes victories at the Japan Open, China Open, Arctic Open, and a runner-up finish at the World Tour Finals. When met after the match, Izzuddin said they aim to stay focused, avoid overthinking ahead of the final, and just give their best against the South Koreans. Malaysia last won the India Open in 2014 through Datuk Lee Chong Wei in the men's singles. Meanwhile, another national men's doubles shuttlers, Aaron Chia and Su Woo-yik, had hoped to restore their status as the top pair in the country, but that was dashed after they lost in the semi-finals of the Indian Open. The world number 5, Aaron and Woo-yik, narrowly went down 2022, 1921 to Malaysian Open champions Seo Seung-jae and Kim Won-hoo of South Korea in the Indira Gandhi Sports Complex last night. They squandered a good opportunity to win the first game when they led 2018. The Koreans refused to give up and stayed cool to grab the next 4 points to give themselves the advantage. Aaron and Woo-yik tried to mount a comeback in the second game, but again came second best in the crucial moments. Aaron and Woo-yik will now have another opportunity to gain more ranking points when they play next in the Indonesian Masters, which starts on Tuesday in Jakarta. The outing in India, however, was still better than last week's Malaysian Open, where they suffered a second-round exit. Earlier, national mixed doubles pair Goh Soon Huat and Shavon Lai Jamie went down fighting 21-18, 19-21, 9-21 to China's Jiang Zhenbang and Wei Yaxin in the semi-finals. The husband and wife combination of Soon Huat and Shavon fought valiantly for 51 minutes before succumbing to the world number 2 ranked China pair at the Indira Gandhi Sports Complex. The same fate befell Pearly Tan and M. Tina in the women's doubles semi-finals, with inconsistency leading to the Malaysians' downfall. The top Malaysian women's doubles pair lost 18-21, 18-21 to South Korea's Kim Hae-jeong and Kong Hee-yong. World number 49 Hae-jeong and Hee-yong, who have been paired for just 3 months as part of the Korean Badminton Association's efforts to reshuffle combinations, reached their second World Tour final in only their 5th tournament together. They won the Korea Masters in November. Meantime, mixed doubles shuttlers Chen Tangji and To Yi-wei justified their status as world number 3 after another semi-final finish in the Indian Open, but minor miscommunication is still holding them back. Tangji and Yi-wei suffered a disappointing 17-21, 15-21 defeat to world number 12 Tom Gekel and Delphine Delroux of France yesterday. The former had a good opportunity to reach their first final of the year, but could not raise their game and went down in 42 minutes. Tangji and Yi-wei had beaten Gekel and Delroux in 3 of their past 4 meetings, but the latter managed to turn the tables this time. Turkish Super League club Besiktas have appointed former Manchester United manager and striker Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as their manager, the club announced on Saturday. The 51-year-old Norwegian has agreed to a deal until the end of next season with an option to extend for another year. It is his first managerial role since being sacked by United in 2021. Besiktas, who have won the Turkish Super League title 16 times, are currently 6th in the standings. They have been without a permanent head coach since Giovanni van Bronckhorst left in November. The club in a statement said they believe Solskjaer will make significant contributions to the club as they have him a warm welcome to the Besiktas family, wishing him great success. The side yesterday drew against Samsunspor at home and will travel to Antalyaspor next week in the Super League. Besiktas are 28th in the Europa League standings, a point off the play-off places, with 2 games left to play in the league phase. Solskjaer played 366 times for United between 1996 and 2007, scoring 126 goals. He returned to Old Trafford as interim manager in 2018, taking over from Jose Mourinho. After an impressive start, Solskjaer was given the role full-time in 2019, but was sacked following a poor run of results. Coming up, a sneak peek at Nintendo's newest Switch 2 console. That's next in our Offbeat segment. Nintendo shares tumble as much as 7% on Friday after the Japanese games giant failed to impress with a teaser video of its hotly awaited Switch 2 console. The brief clip released Thursday showed a gadget that is bigger but broadly similar in appearance to the original hybrid Switch, which can be handled or connected to a television. Nintendo gave no technical specifications such as screen resolution or processing power for the machine, which will be on sale for an undisclosed price this year. This kept gamers and analysts guessing until a live stream presentation on 2nd April and subsequent real-world experience events in major cities worldwide. The stakes were high for the announcement, with gaming websites in recent weeks reporting on industry whispers and glimpses of purported prototypes. The first Switch has sold more than 146 million units since its launch in 2017, making it the world's third best-selling console after Sony's PlayStation 2 and Nintendo's DS. Amsterdam officially kicked off the tulip selling season during National Tulip Day on Saturday. Thousands of people flocked to the Dutch city's Museumplein Square to celebrate the annual event with a free pick-your-own garden. This year's National Tulip Day was dedicated to celebrating Amsterdam's 750th anniversary of its founding. In addition, the tulip season carried the theme Celebrate Your Date, encouraging people to give beautiful bouquets of tulips to mark personal celebrations. Dutch tulip growers gave away 200,000 flowers to create the garden from which visitors can create their own bouquet. National Tulip Day was first introduced in 2012 by Tulip Promotion Netherlands, an organization representing the Dutch tulip growers. Over the years, the event has grown in popularity, attracting international visitors and serving as a platform to showcase the Netherlands' iconic flower. A huge wicker figure known as Mo walked around Santiago streets on recently, raising awareness of the plight of displaced children seeking safety across borders. The 7-meter-tall wicker puppet belongs to the French theatre company L'Homme Debout and will be participating in the international theatre festival called Teatro 1000, which means theatre to 1,000. Mo represents a boy who flees his country at war and starts an imaginary journey holding a red ribbon as he goes. The performance offers a reflection on forced displacement and hope. The puppet started his tour in the Maipu commune and will tour 3 more communes in Santiago province until 25th January. The event is free for spectators. That wraps up World Today this time around. In our top story, Israel-Hamas ceasefire takes effect 2:30 p.m. Malaysia time. I'm Daniel Bahardin. Thank you for watching. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Assalamualaikum, salam Malaysia Madani.